Hey everyone, I'm Kortney Wilson, and this is the Shit Stick of Life podcast. And y'all, this is the final episode of season 1. So, to end the season, I am having Dr. Carlen Costa on. I just had an amazing conversation with her, and I was able to open up a little bit about my story. I have experienced some PTSD symptoms based on some things that I have been through over the last few years, and I haven't been very willing or able to talk about it. She created a safe space for me today. She is a psychotherapist. She is a sexologist. She specializes in a whole bunch of other things, in addition to having a pretty amazing story herself, and has experienced PTSD herself. So I couldn't be happier that she is my final guest on season 1. Without further ado, here is my conversation with Dr. Carlen Costa. Dr. Carlen Costa, welcome to the
Hi.
Shit Stick of Life podcast.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Where are you right now?
Oh, I am in London, Ontario. I'm here at my wellness center, Mothership London, and I'm here in our little podcast studio that we have here. So it's good
Well,
times.
you look beautiful, and
Thank you.
the lighting is perfection as well. So congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. Working on it, working on that 40 glow, you know? Yeah.
Well, I have to say that, sometimes when I'm shooting this podcast, by the way, I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, in my home, in my little podcast room right now.
Nice.
Things are great because life is great. And sometimes, as life goes, it ebbs and flows, and there are peaks and valleys. And today for me is an actual valley.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yep.
a bit in the dumps today, and
Yep.
I was going to cancel. And then I was like, you know what? No, that's what this podcast is about. I'm on the verge of tears. And this is probably the universe saying this is the perfect time for us to chat.
I'll cry with you. Do we need to cry
Okay,
today?
good.
I'll do it.
Okay.
It's totally great.
I couldn't even find Kleenex, so I
Great.
tissues. I have toilet paper beside me, like preemptively.
Yeah.
Okay, so quick disclaimer before we start today's episode. We will be talking about or touching on PTSD. You are a fellow host on Women in Media Network, and so you have your own podcast. But tell me a little bit about yourself.
Ooh, me. I am a clinical sexologist. I am a registered psychotherapist. I am also a cannabis educator. I am a psychedelic assisted psychotherapist. And I
Wow.
am the founder of Mothership London, which is a wellness center here in London, Ontario, Canada, for all of my lovely American friends out there.
Yeah. What does it mean to be a psychotherapist?
And I think a lot of people would answer that in really different and interesting ways. But for me, being a psychotherapist is about being a professional space holder.
Mm.
It is about being someone who can hold the heavy for other people and show them the light through it. Not necessarily be the light, because I want to empower people. I want to support people to find their light, to find their motivation, to
Mm.
create that self-awareness in their life. I just want to help kind of be like the guardrails. Like, oh, let's go this way
Yeah.
versus let's go this way.
Yeah, you don't want them to be codependent on you. You want
Absolutely not.
to literally help them find their road, their way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what led you to being in this industry?
Ooh, that's a great question. Undergrad at the University of Western Ontario, always have to give a shout out to my
Yeah.
alma mater there. And I was actually pre-law. Like I have one of
No
my
way.
degrees. Yeah, I have a few degrees. So one of them is actually in political science. And I was like, I'm going to be a lawyer, and we're going to like handle, empowering women and helping families and men and women and everybody through the law. And then what I actually noticed was it was too much. Like, I was, like, getting ready to, like, do the LSATs, and I'm, talking to other lawyers, and I'm seeing how interesting of an industry that is for many people, right? There's actually a lot of, like, addiction in the legal industry, whether it's
Interesting.
alcohol or drugs. A lot of people have a hard time being able to be with their families in that industry. And I was like, "You know what? I have a bit of a defiance self." I am def
You're
and
a
I don't
challenger.
I am, and I was like, I will be charged with contempt if I go into a courtroom. Like, I can't be that woman. I'm way too outspoken for this. I was like, this is not gonna be a good career for me.
Were you already studying psychology?
Yes, so
Okay.
sociology. So I was already doing
Sociology.
sociology and gender studies and doing that work, and I was like, "Ah, this is where I think I have to go." So then I switched to social work, did all of that, did a master's in public health, did a doctorate in human sexuality, and, here we are, doing
Wow. Wow.
psychotherapy.
One of the reasons that I really wanted to have you on was to talk about
Mm,
PTSD
yeah.
specifically. And the reason is that, I started this podcast, The Shit Stick of Life, over a lot of trials and tribulations in my own life. And I wanted to tell my own story. And I found it quite hard to open up. But I also felt like it was the next part of my healing process to help those who had honestly helped me get through some of these really, really hard times. So, though I have not been clinically diagnosed with PTSD, I had suffered PTSD symptoms quite late in the game of my trauma.
Yeah.
So, before we go on, what is PTSD?
PTSD is your body saying, "I'm not safe,"
Mm.
even after the danger has passed. Right? So it's when your nervous system gets stuck in survival mode and keeps replaying the past like it's still happening now.
Yeah.
That's what PTSD is.
Post traumatic stress disorder is what it stands for. Now, I actually have a card here and it said symptoms of PTSD. It says forecourt, flashbacks and nightmares, check. Avoidance, check. Negative changes in mood or thinking, check. Hypervigilant, check. Trouble sleeping, not for me. Thankfully, I feel like this is one of the things that has gotten me through it is the fact that I sleep. Easily startled and other emotional reactions. Never ever considered that I would have PTSD symptoms because I am strong. I am like bull. I can take on the world. Um, and I had dealt with a lot of betrayal in my previous marriage, in life. And when I went through a divorce, I ended up in a pretty bitter battle in court post divorce, actually, in a custody thing, and had to go to court multiple times. I mean, we're talking 15 to 20 something times. And I felt like I was in fight or flight. I had identified that I was just pushing through each day. And I got to the end of it and I thought, whew, man, I'm good. And now I'm going to share something I've never shared. I fell in love. I got remarried. And about a month out of getting married, I was sitting with some fellow realtors, and we had been given an app in America to keep ourselves safe, where we could check on people's criminal background history before we met them. So I had plugged in. Uh, wow, I'm really having a hard time with this one, but I had plugged in the phone number to my ex husband and found out that he had had a criminal record while we were married. That included patronization, prostitution. So um, that was one of money. And it broke me, doctor, because in one fell swoop, I didn't trust anybody or anything, including myself. I had just gotten married. I didn't trust my husband. I didn't trust my judgment.
Of course.
And it was interesting because I had been through all of these things and lies and things that had come out. And I'd gotten through all of it. I felt, at the end of it, like a bit of a powerhouse. Like, if I can do this, I can get through anything. But I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't react. Is this what you call a normal reaction? What do you think I was experiencing?
Well, you're definitely experiencing PTSD, right? And the interesting thing about PTSD is that, when people talk about healing from PTSD, I like to look at PTSD as the practice of Kintsugi. Do you know what Kintsugi is?
No.
Kintsugi is the Japanese practice of, when something breaks, right? So we have this beautiful bowl that is just gorgeous, and the creator created it with their own hands and painted it with their own hands, much like you have created your life and painted all these beautiful colors and made yourself useful as this beautiful bowl. And then it gets dropped and it breaks.
Yeah.
So then what do we do? What we do is kintsugi. What we do is we pick up all those pieces and we fill it with gold and we put it back together. Now, some people would say that that bowl is still broken. Some
Mm-hmm.
people would say that it is broken, but it is also has been transformed into something new, into something different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what PTSD does. PTSD transforms us into something different. And it's not necessarily that we're broken. Sometimes we fill those spaces with gold. Sometimes we fill it with glue. We fill it with what
Right.
we have that
Yeah.
is around us, you know?
I do feel like I immediately reached out to somebody I was drawn to, and she was a friend. And then I immediately got a different therapist who specialized in this, who confirmed some of the visceral reactions that I was having. So, though I was trying to glue the bowl back together, something would trigger me, and I had never experienced this. So, um, something as simple as, a police officer walking past me, or, um, the threat of somebody lying to me, or I would fall apart. And I would even venture to say I'm still in that place of building that trust back up. Do you feel like when you're in that place, you're building the trust back up with others or yourself?
Oh, it's really both. I mean, and I think that really plays into the metaphor that I gave about, are you filling your cracks with gold or with glue?
Yeah.
Right? Sometimes glue can be really great. I mean, that Gorilla Glue stuff is really
Yeah.
fantastic, right? And that can hold through a lot of different things. But when we're walking down the streets and I hear you say to me, I may be still triggered by police officers, or I'm triggered by men in general, or I'm triggered by going into the courthouse, or and I'm feeling these like visceral physical responses in my body that I can't
Mhm.
control. They're just happening, right?
Mhm.
What the point of therapy and different types of therapy that work through PTSD, that are like the gold star standards for working through PTSD, is about choosing gold over glue.
Gold
And
over glue.
mhm, sometimes we can work through PTSD, right? Like you have an episode and then you put yourself back together and you're like, I got this. I'm powering through. So then you
Yes.
live your life. And then all of a sudden, something happens
Yes, that's exactly how I feel.
and the bowl falls again. If you filled it with
Yes.
glue, sometimes those pieces will stay together, but sometimes that glue doesn't hold. That glue isn't waterproof. That glue allows for more air in between the cracks, so it breaks. Just little pieces, maybe not the whole
But
thing
how do
this
you fill
time.
it with gold? What's the difference
Exactly.
in, because I feel like I'm triggered often.
Yeah,
And I don't like it. It's not a comfortable feeling for me. So I've
of
had to also
course.
learn how to sit in that discomfort to get to the other side. But what is the difference between the glue and the gold, in how you help people heal?
Self-awareness. So it is about first identifying what have I filled with glue, what have I filled with golds, and then working through different modalities to help people. So CBT, which targets people through therapeutic skills and rewriting the stories of how they relate to their story. EMDR. So EMDR is like the gold standard of processing trauma, and it stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. Okay. And it helps us go through trauma using bilateral stimulation. So, like, if you see people with like the lights and using your eyes to shift how you relate to your memories and how they are stored. Other ways to do that is medication. Now, medication can be either pharma based, right? Or it can be plant based. So, psychedelic therapy can really, really help people with PTSD.
My girlfriends and I have been talking a lot about psychedelic therapy because it feels like everyone else is talking about it.
Yeah.
I am super square. So like I've never done drugs, I don't smoke, I barely drink, and yet I've been invited many times to, a place where they do psychedelic therapy, and I'm like, oh, I don't know. So can you tell? Because we've talked about this on the podcast before. Tell me
Yeah.
what psychedelic therapy is.
So psychedelic therapy is essentially like just like in its very basic terms, we're using magic mushrooms. We're taking magic mushrooms as a medicine with intention and purpose in order to access these memories, access these emotions in a non-defensive state so we can rewrite how we relate to those memories and those states of ourselves, right? It allows us to kind of open up new doors and rebuild neural pathways in our brains so that when the triggers come at us, we can respond to them differently.
Is that something that's legal where you guys are?
In Canada, it's gray area right now. So in British
Okay.
Columbia, it's legal right now. I'm in Ontario, um, and right beside like Michigan, and in Ontario, it's gray area. So like, there's a shop like down the street that I like drive by on the way to my office, kind of thing, called Fun Guys.
Yeah.
So it's very much where like medical cannabis was in Canada for a little while. So it's like you can access it, but you can't really get in trouble for it, or it's, like, not worth for the system to kinda get you in trouble for it.
Like decriminalized.
Pretty much. It's like yeah,
Okay.
exactly, exactly. We're moving towards legalization, actually, which is really great. But I do know that, California, for example, is working with the FDA right now with LSD, for example, and, doing that work and bringing LSD back in, as well as MDMA in order to help people, use it for these trauma responses as well.
No, what is MDMA? So when we're talking about that.
It's another psychedelic drug, methyl-dioxamethylphenamine. Methyl-dioxamethylphenamine.
So that is something you create versus something that is like plant-based.
Yeah, yeah, like cannabis, right? Cannabis is a plant that you go in the ground, and the flower, right, is so when you see like a flower on a plant is the buds, and that's what you smoke or eat, right?
Okay. Okay.
Psilocybin is a mushroom that you
Yeah.
grow in the ground, whereas MDMA, LSD, acid, Molly, all of those types of things, those are all synthetic. So they are created in a lab with some really, really smart chemists that I am
Right.
not.
Right now, by the way, everybody, we are not suggesting you go do this, obviously. We are
Yeah.
suggesting that you go, talk to your own doctors and
Yes.
physicians to figure out what treatment's good for you. But we're
Yes.
just exploring what this is. Because, like I said,
Yeah.
I'm totally square when it comes to this stuff. And I hear about it all the time on so
Yeah.
many different podcasts. And it feels like it is actually helping a lot of people with PTSD.
With intention, though. That's the difference.
Okay. So, what I know about intention is that you have a guide during this process.
Yeah. So, for example, in my practice, it will look like a series of therapy sessions. So, we'll talk about, like, hey, what are some of the big stuff that's coming up for you? And you'll be totally sober for a few therapy sessions, right? We'll get you grounded and creating that self awareness. Then, on a medicine day, we do work with like a pharmacist to look at any contraindications to any current medications or health statuses that you are currently in. Also have a nurse in the room as well to keep you safe. And then you enter into your experience where, I am there, somebody else is there. There's two people to one person always. And it is about you having this beautiful experience. Some people say they're talking to God. Some people say they're talking to their creator. Some people say they're going in deep inside of themselves and communing with their subconscious. It really is a different experience, first of all, every time and for every person.
What are some of the transformations that you've seen in some of your
Oh,
patients?
seen and experienced.
And experience. Tell us about
Yes.
that because I know you have a crazy
Mhm.
story as well. So
Yeah.
please, let that be a part of it as well.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. My experience, and one of the reasons also why I wanted to be in this field is about healing, my own relationship to my own body, my own self-awareness, my own emotions, my own neurodivergence, and all of that, right? So, my career has really been a vocation of helping others, but also helping myself and self-discovering who I am. So, using things like MDMA, psilocybin, cannabis even as medicines on top of methylphenidates and amphetamines because I do have ADHD. So, those pharmaceutical interventions are really, really helpful and can be really, really helpful. But with respect to helping like the PTSD, the trauma, the like deep work where you have to like ugly cry and
Yeah.
be okay with the ugly cry and kind of
Mhm.
meet some of those protectors and managers that are inside of you that you have created to keep you safe. That's where I really love the interventions of psychedelics and plant medicines because it's an experience that I've seen people, I've been in a room with multiple people, and at the end of it, when we're debriefing, it's so interesting how even though none of us were, like, really talking or, we're not connecting with anybody, we've all seen the same thing in our experiences, which is, like, one of the wildest things that has ever happened.
It's so wild because, like, I don't
Yeah.
like I said, I don't take meds at all, like, I
Mhm.
really have been very clean living my whole life, and
Sure.
so I'm having to retrain just how I look at all of this based on
Mhm.
so much education out there now.
First of all, just in with respect to shifting how you are even, relating to this, it's to eliminate that I've been living clean living. Right?
Hmm.
Because what that presupposes is that,
This isn't clean.
complete
Yeah.
sobriety or, just doing what is socially accepted is dirty or is a bad thing, right? So clean living, even when I've done a lot of work with in injection drug users, for example, and worked at harm reduction sites. We don't tell people that people are clean or dirty, or even if we're talking about like STIs and safe sex, we don't say
Yeah.
clean or dirty, right? Because that just
That's so interesting because, like, so
Mhm.
for me, because I'm such a rule follower and have been a rule
Yeah.
follower my whole life, when I found out about the criminal record, knowing who I am and knowing, first of
Mm.
all, you shouldn't ever lie to your spouse about anything anyway.
Agreed.
I feel like that was the first thing. And then also knowing I would never get a true answer about what actually happened. So I didn't need it. I didn't want to be told another lie. I can't seem to get there. I can't
Mhm.
seem to be like, okay, well, in order to get through this thing, these betrayals, these bad things,
Mhm.
I've been preconditioned to think it's a bad thing.
Mhm.
I can't seem to get there.
Mhm.
Like, it's illegal in Tennessee. And yet it's not like I'm sitting here going, "Oh my gosh, I'm judging you." I'm not judging you. I'm just scared myself.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and that could also be part of just, your conditioning, your own PTSD to life.
Yeah.
Birth is a trauma, right? When we talk to
Yeah.
women about like giving birth, for example, everybody always likes to really romanticize it and be like, "Oh, I gave birth. It's the circle of bliss, the most romantic thing in the whole world." And I'm like, "Girl, you just suffered a severe trauma and like opened yourself up expensively, and then this little beautiful little child now has to live life in this economy,
Yeah.
and as if that's not a trauma just existing, right? So some of that is also in relating to how we look at trauma, what trauma is, and then the human experience and the awareness of the human experience. And for many people, including yourself as a rule follower, you've never been at peace because you have felt that rules and things have to have been around you to keep you safe.
That is so true. That
Mhm.
is so true. That's like a big aha moment for me.
Take a breath. Hey,
And
take
I've
a breath.
always yeah.
Take a breath. Slow down. Take a breath. Just me and you, friend. Slow down. Yeah. We're just going to take a breath here for a second. Get back into your body. And this is part of working through the PTSD is not allowing yourself to bulldoze through it, okay?
I think I've always felt like I have to be the strong one. I have to be the one that's in control or everything will fall apart. And
There you go. There's a good breath. Do that one more time for me. You are already strong. You don't have to be anything. You are already safe.
yes, I should know that. And I want to feel that. I just was always the most trusting person. And I just was made to feel like a fool. And now I feel like a fool.
Yeah. Yeah. You should never feel like a fool for loving. and being true to who you are. If anything, they are the fool for failing to meet you there. And this is part of reworking through that PTSD response, right? You're putting this back on you, but all you did was love. All you did was show up authentically. All you did was be honest and true to yourself.
It's so wild because I can barely talk about it. And this is a big breakthrough for me to be able to talk about it. I'm always protecting somebody, whether it's my kids. I remember when I found out, I texted my family, who I do not have a great relationship with, and nobody responded. And I remember just thinking, like, I was alone.
Let's take a minute for that because I know a lot of people, especially your listeners, can definitely relate to feeling alone.
When somebody is at home, or if somebody's at home dealing with something that they can't really identify, maybe it's PTSD, maybe it's they're feeling anxious, what is one of the things that they can do for themselves? Is it breath, just like what we're doing right now?
Yes. Yes. Pause. I have a friend, she calls it the radical pause. And that's part of that work of self awareness. That's part of that work of being like, hey, do I have to be this way? Do I have to live this way? And am I just like bulldozing through it? Right? Am I just saying, no, I can't pause, I can't stop because if I feel it, it will reveal it. And then how do I heal it? And that can feel really overwhelming
Say
for
that
people.
again. If I
Yeah.
feel,
If I feel it, then I have to reveal it. And then I have to do the work to heal it.
and
And
that's the resistance.
that's the resistance.
I know people that have experienced some pretty severe trauma, either from their childhood and their life, and they refuse to go there because they don't think they can handle the feelings that will come out of it. Is there ever an instance where you advise to not go there?
Yeah, if you're not ready. If you're not ready and if you don't have the support around you, right? It's really important to remember that we do not heal in a silo. Like we do not heal as one person. We heal as part of a community. So being forced to do work when A, you are not emotionally ready, and when B, your community is not ready to hold you, can actually really increase the PTSD. It can increase the resistance, can increase the barriers around you, and keep you in a space of being like, I just don't want to deal with this.
Wow. I actually think that's a really honest answer that I wasn't even expecting. I think a lot of therapists automatically know you have to go there. You got to go through the pain to get the other side. And I think that's also true. You probably do, to get to the other side, have to go straight through the pain, but that doesn't necessarily mean that one is ready.
Yeah, you have to be ready to be uncomfortable. And sometimes, I mean, that's the role of the therapist again, right? Is to be like, hey, let's just take some steps to see what your capacity is. And if we just increase your capacity by like 5%, that's great. That's
Hmm.
5% better than you did yesterday,
Yeah.
you know?
So when somebody is experiencing PTSD, what's something that you can say to help them not feel so crazy? Because like I have had the visceral reaction, like I want to throw up. I want to, my whole body is shaking. It's freezing, it's cold, it's freezing, it's cold. And I never knew that exists. I think people have overused the words
Mhm.
trauma and PTSD to describe things that aren't really traumatic
How
sometimes.
so? Could you explain that to me? Because how so?
Yeah. When people say all the time, like, oh my God, it's just all the trauma I've been through. Oh my gosh, it's just the trauma. And I'm like, what's the trauma? Like, oh my God, my best friend, and I'm not minimizing that there's something there, because it's not a comparison of like, oh gosh, my trauma is worse than yours. But I feel the same way about the use of the word narcissist. We throw it around like everyone's a narcissist, and maybe everyone is a narcissist. But then I'm sitting there going, wait, like I can't breathe. I can't. So you're throwing PTSD around in a girls group or you know, I can't, I don't know if I want to go on. I can't breathe,
Yes. Which is different. Which is
which is
different.
different.
Yeah. I think we've sensitized or
Sensitized.
unsensationalized our relationship to it, very much like is everyone a narcissist? No, not everyone is a narcissist.
Yes.
Right? And
Yeah.
is everything oh, I have PTSD from this, or people say this to me a lot. They'll be like, oh, isn't everyone have a little bit of ADHD? I'm like, no. No. Not everybody struggles in this way. I see it as an emotional act of violence when we use words like that and throw things around without really understanding how they're impacting the people that we're saying it to, but also how we're minimizing it with ourselves. And I don't mean violence as in people are unsafe. I mean
Right.
it as in it is a thrashing act that can either minimize or maximize how we relate to these experiences.
Have you experienced PTSD?
Oh, Fred. Yeah.
Would you mind sharing one of
Yeah.
your shit stick of life stories with us
Oh, shit.
for
Where do I?
relatability?
Oh, girl, where do I start? I'm 42. I've lived a life.
I heard something. I heard something about one of your stories right
Mm.
before this podcast, and I was a little bit shocked, but it had to do with you being sort of forced to have a surgery.
Yeah.
Um, would you be willing to discuss that
Sure.
or tell us about it?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So being a woman is really hard. Being a
Yeah,
woman
amen.
being a woman in the 90s and 2000s was especially hard when cocaine chic was all the rage and
Yeah.
everyone was trying to fit into Calvin Klein.
Yeah.
And
Size 0, double zeros.
size double
Mm,
zero, and the world was all
mm,
still really racist as well. So, unfortunately, well, it still is, but
mhm.
especially at that time, just understanding the difference of bodies and cultures and all of that kind of thing. So, I have a bigger body. I am a curvy woman, and I love these curves. I do. I do. I have
Yeah, you
thick
should.
thighs, a juicy booty, you know, a nice big round face, and she is cute. She's cute.
You are beautiful.
She
Yes.
yes, yes, yes. But when I was 25, as much as I thought some of that, didn't believe it all. So, am the biggest woman in my family, one of them, but there's only a couple of us. Everyone in my family, I have one of those families that either on my mother's side or my father's side, when we were all together, people like literally walk by us and or look at us and look at pictures of us, and they're like, "How is everybody this pretty? Like, how is
Aw.
everybody in your family this attractive?"
Wow.
And so that weighs on you when you're the big girl in the family.
Mhm.
So at 25, I just finished my undergrad. I was like, what am I going to do next? Going into social work, going into grad school, about to, start that part of my life. I was convinced that my body was the problem and it didn't fit into this social narrative and reflect upon me. So when I was 25, I made the decision to get a lap band surgery, which at the time was considered to be, the next big thing, and it wasn't as invasive as like a gastro sleeve, right? Where they're like cutting your
Mhm.
stomach and making your stomach smaller. This was just like the implant, this like ring around the base of your esophagus to your stomach, so that when you eat, it fills your
You feel
esophagus
full right away.
versus your
Mhm.
stomach. Yeah, well, let's talk about how like your esophagus is not your stomach.
Right.
And the feeling of
It's not how you
fullness.
were made. It's
N
yeah.
no, so you don't actually feel full, you feel capped. You feel capped. When your esophagus acts as your stomach, there's only so much that you can put in there. When your
Right.
stomach acts as your stomach, you put in food and it expands and retracts as
Right.
you
Yeah.
eat, right? Your
Do you feel like you wanna throw up all the time?
I did a lot. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
yeah.
like, forced anorexia. I mean, not anorexia, bulimia.
Yeah, that's what my best friend actually calls it. She calls it, like, medicalized bulimia. Whenever you talk about it. So I did that, but I just needed to be skinny, and I needed to be skinny because my body hurt, and my legs were hurting, and I also didn't want to be the one woman out in the family, and I
And that your
also
family supported you in this?
oh yes, very much so. They had a little family meeting about what are we gonna do about Carlin's weight, and
Wow.
it
I'm
gets
so sorry.
yeah, it's okay, it's okay, everyone does the best that they can with the tools that they know,
Yeah. Mhm.
and they didn't know. When you have never lived in the body of a fat person, You don't know. You can have a lot of like sympathy, but you can't have empathy. You don't know what it's like to consistently be judged in the first 3 seconds of being seen versus being heard, right? You're a beautiful, blonde, thin woman. When someone approaches you, they come to you and they are open to you right away, right? All the
Mm.
preconceived notions that we have about thinness being healthy, thinness being about good discipline,
Mhm.
thinness being about, you have your shit together, right? Whereas
Mhm.
fatness is about, you've lost yourself. Oh, you must be sick. Oh, you must not be
Mhm.
a very good woman or
So
person or not
true.
take care of yourself, right? So I am judged in the first 3 seconds of someone seeing me, even as I'm walking down the street. You are judged as well, but you are accepted in that judgment.
Oh, I am raising a young Black daughter, and I have many, um, examples of how being a blonde white woman, um, opens doors that do not open for her. Or, there's a judgment passed on her. And when I walk in the room, all of a sudden they see her differently. And so you are, I'm on this side of it.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah.
but I know it exists.
Yeah. So I did that. So then I lost 100, I think over like the 13 years, I think I lost on and off like 150 pounds. Like my biggest loss was like about 130 pounds and then 20 here or there. And then I got into CrossFit and built muscle, and that was really, really fun. But in that time during the pandemic, what was happening is that I started in the middle of the night choking on my stomach acid and not being able to breathe. So the very thing, the thinness, was killing me.
Mm.
The desire for the thinness is killing me, and it's killing a lot of women in North America, all over the world. Thinness is killing in very multiple modalities. But for me, my pursuit of thinness was killing me, even though I was doing all the right things, eating well, working out CrossFit 4 times a week, lifting 150 pounds over my head. Girl, I was strong.
Mhm.
But in that one thing that was implanted inside of me to keep me in that body was killing me as I was choking on my stomach acid in the middle of the night. So I made a decision. I contacted my doctor and it was like, get this out of me. I don't care what it means. I don't care what it means for my body. In fact, I want it to mean something for my body because I want it to be able to be in this space where I can start again and I can actually listen to myself this time because I'm not influenced by anybody at this point. I'm 40 years old. Like nobody is telling me how to
Mhm.
live my life at this point, to be honest with you. So I had it
But
reversed.
back then when you
Yeah.
had the surgery, you were for
Yeah.
sure being influenced. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah, but you grow. I mean, the whole idea is that as
Yeah.
we get older, we grow and we
Yeah.
we learn,
Yeah.
and you did.
I
So
did.
so when did you have it reversed?
I had it reversed in the summer of 2022. So it's been
So not
3
long ago,
years.
really.
No,
3,
no.
and you feel great?
Oh, I feel fantastic. I feel fantastic. And what has been really great about this, and this is what I love about trauma and working in PTSD and working in trauma responses, is that as soon as we can take off a layer, as soon as we can take off a resistance, it reveals so much more about yourself that you've been missing.
Okay, so I wasn't planning on going here, but so but this feels like the right place to go because there are so many people doing weight loss drugs right
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
and I think there's a place for them for some people.
Absolutely.
But is it just covering up? Is it putting a layer on, or is it taking a layer off?
Depends. It depends. Again, it's intention and it's about the work that you're doing around it, right? I'm a big fan if people want to lose weight in all of the ways through like Ozempic and pharmaceuticals or, semaglutide work, or if they're going to the gym and like eating right, however it is that you're getting there. Zero judgment because everybody has to figure out their path. And sometimes when we go to our doctor sees us for a lovely 15-minute appointment, gives us the drugs and says, now figure it out. And if you don't have the support of a therapist, a social worker, a psychotherapist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist to help you really understand why we're here, how did we get here, and what is the intention of this tool, then it will be something that you're just covering up. You're just covering up your own resistance. You're covering up what you're hiding from. But if you do it in a way that you are also doing the self-awareness work, it can be exceptionally powerful. Which is what I did, which is what I did for much of, when I did have my implant, when I had my lap band. But then when I had it reversed, when I had it removed, it allowed me to go even deeper. It allowed me to go even further and to see, oh shit, this is actually what's happening to your body. You got to remove this barrier in order to really, really feel who you are and own it.
It's so wise, because owning it is they are words that I use all the time with my daughter. You have to own how you feel and not make excuses or not feel guilty for it, because it is what it is. When I was putting out on Instagram yesterday about you being on the podcast, and a lot of people messaged me saying, my husband or my wife is a police officer. Overwhelmingly, we got those messages. And they are experiencing PTSD. What can I do for them? It's such an interesting thing because they have to want to get help themselves. But let's take it from both sides. What if somebody knows somebody that is experiencing PTSD? How is it best to help them?
To be honest, I think the best way to help somebody is to always just be honest with them. I
Yeah.
think we hide behind or we are resistant to discomfort.
Mm-hmm.
So if I am suffering, like I have a deal with all my girlfriends. If you see me suffering, you tell me. Whether I choose to listen to it or whether I have the capacity to hear it, that's different.
Yeah. I want to know, though.
But
I want you to be honest.
I
Mhm.
need you to be honest with me. I need you to hold up the mirror so that I can see myself. I need you to show me how to live in a way that is a little bit healthier, right? I need you to model some of that for me. I need you to hold some of that space for me. And I need you to say to me, hey, I love you. I hear you. I understand you. But what you are doing is hurting you. And I'm going to hold that space for you. And I will help pick yourself back up, even when you're on the ground and in a million broken pieces.
Mm.
And I will not judge you, but you
Mhm.
are hurting yourself.
So honesty first. I've heard it's actually really hard to get a therapist in Canada. Is that true?
I don't think so. Yeah, no,
No?
no.
Okay.
I'm taking on new clients if anybody wants to come
Okay,
and see
yeah.
me.
Do you do virtual appointments?
Yes, I
Like if
do.
someone's listening? Okay,
Yeah,
that's actually
yeah,
really great because I
yeah.
feel like I'm in a virtual appointment right
This is pretty much it. This is what it looks like.
now.
Yeah.
Okay, so is full recovery from PTSD possible, or do you just learn how to carry it, deal with it?
You learn how to fill it with gold, hon.
You learn how to fill it with gold.
Yeah.
You learn how to fill it with
Right?
gold.
Do scars ever really heal? Sometimes. Sometimes we can cut them out, but there's always another scar on top of it. You know what I mean?
That is so true. I have actually one right here on my wrist that's pretty recent and it's a burn, but I was out at my lake house and we have a bunch of bamboo out there. And so Ryan and I were chopping out down the bamboo and we have a bamboo fire. But the reason behind the bamboo fire was I just needed to be out in nature, damn it. I just needed to breathe. I needed to burn something. I needed to it was a healing day for me.
Girl, get it.
I didn't even feel that when bamboo burns, it bursts.
Yeah.
Ryan would be like, "Oh my gosh, the sparks just hit you." And I was like, "Oh, it's fine." Like I almost couldn't feel it, which was crazy. But I looked down and I remember that day, and I wasn't trying to self-harm.
No.
I just remember how great I felt that day, purging so many feelings and things that I needed to get off my chest. And it was a wonderful day.
Yeah.
But I do have the scar to prove it.
Well, scars don't always mean that you got hurt because things were bad, right? Scars just
Mhm.
mean that you've been fighting. Like
Yeah.
there's no negative or positive to scars. They just are.
Yeah. And fighting is meaning it's getting up some
Yes.
days.
Yes.
Fighting, guys, listen, those of you listening, fighting is just getting up and choosing
Yep.
to stand up and
Yep.
move through the day. Sometimes that's all the fight you have.
Fighting sometimes is just brushing your teeth.
Sometimes it's just brushing your teeth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You are a warrior if
But
you can
don't
get
you
up
dare
today.
use my toothbrush or you'll have a real fight on your hands. Dr. Carlen Costa, you are just such a delight. I love you, and you actually have helped me today in sharing a very vulnerable thing about myself and my own story. We all have a story to share. We all get hit by the shit stick of life, and how we choose to get up and prevail and work through things is everything. And that's what this podcast was born of. I I am so grateful for you.
I'm grateful for you. Thank you for having me here today. This has been wonderful.
How can people get in touch with you?
Come hang out with me. So come check me out. Women in Media. We're there with the Spicy Fat podcast. I will be returning. I
Spicy
promise.
Fat Podcast. I love that.
Yes, the Spicy Fat podcast. It's so fun.
Yes.
And but you can also just hit me up, carlencosta.com or mothershiplondon.com. And yeah, I'm here. I'm on the socials, all the socials. Carlen is CARLEN.COSTA. And you'll find me. I promise. I'm like one of 3 people in the world with my name. So
Same. Kortney with a K.
yeah.
There's only 3 of us. Thank you all so much for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, listen, all the things. We really appreciate you. If all of that went over your head, Dr. Carlen's information is in the show notes. I also want to tell everybody this is the final episode of season 1 of my podcast. You have been such a support to me. Everyone, thank you. It is not lost on me that you have a lot of decisions to make on how you spend your time. And I'm very grateful that you spent some of it with me. Cheers to season 2.